Lisa, I think you're maybe still muted.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Oh man, and I did it so well.
More practice.
It is 7 p.m. on Tuesday, July 26, 2022, and I now call to order the 21st regular meeting of the City of College Bay City Council. And will the clerk please take roll call?
Yes. Councilmember Jessup,
Present.
Councilmember Cleveland,
Present.
Councilmember Peterson,
Present.
Councilmember Espinosa,
Present.
Councilmember Sherman,
Present.
Councilmember Boyle.
Present.
And Councilmember Williams was with us for the executive session, but she will not be with us for the regular portion of the meeting. We do have a quorum. Hernandez,
Great.
ready to go.
Thank you so much. Will you all please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance at this time?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. It's now time for public comment, and did anyone submit a comment in advance?
No one submitted in advance, but we do have an attendee with a raised hand.
Okay. So, okay, so then the person.
You should, Ms. Fiolino.
Hi there.
Hello, welcome.
Thank you. I was just calling in tonight because I have emailed a few of you and I haven't had any response. So I was just wondering, and I've talked with the police chief, if there could be a discussion on allowing UTVs on the city streets.
Okay,
Ms. Fiolino, what is your address?
716 Smith Drive, College Place.
Thank you.
okay. Was there any further comment?
No, ma'am. I was just hoping to be able to speak to somebody shortly about maybe possibly regarding this situation.
Well, let's see I suppose we can have Chief of Police give her a call because it was.
She can call me,
Okay,
yeah.
okay. Do you want to tomorrow call City Attorney? or
I
City
sure
Attorney
can.
Colwell?
Okay,
I'll read Colwell and she'll discuss it with you.
perfect. That sounds great.
Forward to speaking with you.
I look forward to it too. I appreciate your guys' time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good
Yeah.
evening.
You as well.
Bye.
Bye-bye. All right, is there anyone else?
No one else requesting to speak.
All right, then. Then let's move on to the consent agenda. So it's time to approve the consent agenda, which consists of the agenda for tonight, July 26, 2022, the council minutes from June 28, 2022, the appointment of Ruben Alvarado to the Planning Commission, and the June 2022 check register of financials, and we excuse the absence of Councilmember Williams. Is there any items the council would like to move from the consent agenda at this time?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the ayes have it, the motion is passed. Next, we're gonna have we have one presentation tonight. And Chief Tamaris will present on the June 2022 yard of the month recipient. Chief
Thank
Tamaris.
you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor. Hello, Council. The June 2022 Yard of the Month recipient resides at 128 Southeast 12th Street. And it is Mr. Rich Torres's home. And just a beautiful yard there. And Mr. Torres and his family have lived there for 2 years in College Place, and they're very proud of their yard and our community.
Wonderful. Great. That is beautiful. Any questions or comments? All right. Congratulations to Mr. Torres. Appreciate your presentation, Chief Tamaras.
Thank you.
Okay, we haven't, for public hearings, we do not have any scheduled for tonight, so we're going to move on to action items. Let's take a look. So the first item for action is the item we discussed in executive session. So let's see. The first action item is on iWork settlement as discussed in executive session by Ms. Colwell. So we're going to go through council members for any questions or comments before action is taken. Councilmember Jessup, any questions or comments?
Not at the moment. Thank you.
Mr. Cleveland? Mr. Peterson?
No, thank you.
Mr. Espinosa?
No comments, questions?
Ms. Sherman?
No, no comments or questions.
Ms. Boyle?
No.
All right, is there any additional discussion? If not, do we have a motion?
There's no recommended motion because I didn't.
Oh, there's a recommended action.
But it's for us,
Well, yeah, but that.
Right,
would-
so I think just to take a motion from a board member if they wish the city to.
I'll make a motion that we pay out the balance of the contract.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the ayes have it and the motion is passed. The next item is the pavement rating agreement, and Mr. Rizzatello will present on that.
Okay, thank you. This was presented at an earlier meeting, so we need essentially the local roads and most roads in general in the community to have a methodical way inventory them and then set them up for maintenance. And this company does that. They've done the reports for neighboring jurisdictions, Pendleton, and then the Tri-Cities as well. The recommendation is to do the report with the map, so that way the public can actually see the full extent of the road infrastructure. This concept was presented at length to the Utilities and Transportation Advisory Commission. They recommended to proceed ahead with this. This was introduced at a previous council meeting a little over a month ago. And in addition to that, because this fits one of the priorities of all Valley Blue Zones, they're going to kick in some of the expense as well, north of 6,000 to help cover this. So that is what's before you today.
All right, thank you. Let's go through council members for questions or comments. And we begin with Councilmember Jessup.
Not at the moment. I do remember this, so thank you.
Councilmember Cleveland,
No question.
Councilmember Espinosa,
No questions.
Councilmember skipping over Peterson.
Like too soon.
No questions. Thank you.
Councilmember Sherman.
I apologize. So of the 15.5, Blue Zones is paying 6 of that. So the only, okay, thank you.
Councilmember Boyle.
No questions.
All right, is there any additional discussion? If not, is there a motion?
Councilmember,
I want the motion to authorize the city administrator to sign a contract with Capital Asset and Pavement Services for cost not to exceed $15,500 for pavement rating inventory report services.
second, Councilmember Jessup.
Thank you. Any additional discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
All right.
Any opposed? All right, the ayes have it and the motion is passed. All right, moving along. The next item is the adoption of the 2021 Water Systems Plan. And Mr. McAndrews, you're up.
Good evening, council.
Good evening.
So you all may remember back on May 3rd, RH2 did a presentation and talked quite a bit about the water system plan. This has been in the works for quite some time. So a little history on it. RH2 helped us put it together. The Department of Ecology requires these to be updated every 6 years. So we followed all the processes, had a public hearing, put it out to the neighboring agencies, and considered all the review and comments. And so here we are finally with Ecology's approval and recommendation for council's approval. So I guess with that, I'll open it up if anyone has some questions about this.
Let's go for questions, for comments. Councilmember Jessup?
Not at the moment. Thanks for all the hard work and patience on this.
Councilmember Cleveland?
What's your favorite part?
Jeez. Was that?
Presentations.
Presentations, absolutely. Loaded question.
No further questions. Thank you.
Councilmember Peterson?
Well, I know there's it's so essential, you know, and I echo the comment. Thank you for your hard work and your staff. Thank you.
My apologies, Councilmember Espinosa. Everybody's gonna get a turn tonight.
No question.
Councilmember Sherman?
No question.
Councilmember Boyle?
Questions?
All right, so is there any additional discussion? All right, if not, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 22-054, which adopts the 2021 water system plan.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any additional discussion? All right, then let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, the ayes have it. The motion is passed. Thank you so much, Mr. Andrews. It's done.
All
Yeah,
right,
it's just part's done.
that part.
Okay. Okay, so you're not sitting down, so that means the next item.
Sit down.
The next item is adoption of the general sewer plan.
So similarly to the water system plan, this has been ongoing for quite some time. Again, on May 3rd's workshop, this time JUD gave a presentation to you all, if you recall, with the general sewer plan. So it began as a fiscal sustainability plan that was required for the funding, design funding for the wastewater treatment plant. Put that together and then realized the benefit to having a general sewer plan, which would also allow for additional funding opportunities down the road. So after discussions with the Department of Ecology, they allowed us to alter or adjust, amend, I should say, our general sewer, our fiscal sustainability plan to turn it into a general sewer plan. So JUB worked through that. It has been through review. The Department of Health has preliminarily said this looks good. There are people that are out of town that need to get their formal final approval. So at this point, what we are asking for is recommending, I should say, is that we adopt it contingent upon our Department of Ecology, this Department of Health. And contingent upon the approval by the Department of Health.
This is how the magic
Yeah, I apologize for that. Any questions?
All right.
So we refresh it, should be the right on our screen. So
Oh, nice. Councilmember Jessup, any questions or comments?
Not at the moment. Thanks again.
Councilmember Cleveland?
I think my favorite part is when you said it allowed us to pursue other monies that we might not have had yet. No other questions or comments?
Councilmember Espinosa?
No questions?
Councilmember Peterson?
No questions. Thank you.
Councilmember Sherman?
well, you didn't want to ask him his favorite lift station?
7.
Seven. Okay. all right.
And Councilmember Boyle?
No questions.
We would go there.
All right, good. If there's no additional discussion, is there a motion?
Sure, I'll move to approve resolution number 22-055, which adopts the general sewer plan contingent upon approval by the Washington State Department of Health.
No.
It's
Health.
it's not.
I-
She just changed.
You just missed that whole
Oh, sorry.
conversation.
I misunderstood. I thought you did.
Second.
hadn't included those.
All right, we have a first and a second, any additional discussion? Ms. Sherman? All right, if not, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Right.
Any opposed?
Did I? Oh, yes. Mike, chime in. Did I have these backwards? It is the Department of Ecology.
That's all right.
Okay,
I am so,
so which one are we talking about?
You know how
We-
lucky we were.
Yeah.
Oh, we know, we know.
And it's
Oh, my God.
110.
Yeah, it
this
is.
is what happens when I'm,
But the air conditioner's nice in here, tell
Yeah.
John. thank you.
how do we undo that?
It never happened, right?
Well,
Can
can we just make a
motion
new
to
one?
Do we have to
amend
make a new motion?
Previous motions to correct the language.
I am so sorry.
That's
Oh,
fine.
I apologize.
It's okay.
If Lauren would like to, just motion to amend.
Sure, yeah.
I was hoping you'd ask.
So it's the Department of Ecology?
Yes.
Okay, I don't want to refresh it, it'll take too long. So, yeah, I would move to amend the previous motion. So I move to approve resolution number 22-055, which adopts the general sewer plan contingent upon the approval by the Washington State Department of Ecology.
I'll still second.
That was easy.
I think we owe you an apology for laughing.
I
at
owe you all an apology. I
No,
No,
apologize.
I'm used to it.
I had it correct the first time and then I second guessed myself.
This is your one time.
Thank you.
All right,
But you're
All
not
in
done
favor,
for
say
tonight.
aye.
You still have more to go.
Hi.
All right.
any opposed? All right, the ayes have it, the motion is passed. Now we're gonna move on to the Sky Avenue overlay. Am I making sure I'm on the right one? Okay, so Sky Avenue overlay and Mr. McAndrews, you got that?
Yes. So Sky Avenue from Scenic View to 12 was already one of our rougher roads, and through our Mountain View Sky 12 water main replacement project that's just wrapping up. There was more trenching and patches than what we had initially anticipated. So going out there, looking at the road, we thought we really don't want to leave this in this condition. So being such a short stretch of road, we were able to go get 3 quotes and it fit within the Public Works project and our purchasing requirements. And so that being said, we have money that we had previously set aside for unspecified road infrastructure fixes, as well as 30,000 that was budgeted for block resurfacing. And so of the 3 quotes, the lowest quote we got was from Central Washington for $33,350 to overlay that stretch of road. So I am seeking approval to award that bid. Any questions?
Councilmember Jessup,
No, thank you.
Councilmember Cleveland,
Always glad when our local roads get extra attention. Thank you for that. This is only tangentially related, but on this one, Scenic Drive and Sky there is probably a very old wall that looks like it could complement a bonus.
I'm sorry, Michael, can you talk just a little bit
Oh, yeah.
louder? They're gonna have time hearing you.
There's a wall along the property on Scenic View Drive and Sky right on the corner. I think it's on the west side. And the wall just is just leaning really far out. Is that something that, you know, is a potential hazard or something that we need to urge the homeowner, or is it like, it's fine?
I'm not particularly familiar with the wall. I will have to go out and take a look at it. But Public Works staff can certainly take a look and assess if we think there's a problem. We can try to work with the property owner, or if it's in our right of way, that's something I would say.
Councilmember Espinosa.
Have you worked with CWA in the past?
We have, the city has done a lot of business with CWA. They paved Lamperty somewhat recently, they paved Meadowbrook. They're the ones that just redid our stretch of College Avenue for us. It wasn't their fault that it failed to begin with. So yeah, we've done quite a bit of business with them there.
Councilmember Peterson.
Did I miss something? It says not to exceed 40, but is it it's actually 33,350?
Yeah, their quote was 33,350. I included
Contingency.
it was a little over 15. I don't remember the exact amount contingency.
Yeah, okay, okay. Kind of unrelated, real quickly, on Mountain View, those roads, it's new water line, right?
Mhm.
And is that for both north and south sides of the street, or is it just for, so on Mountain View in particular, is that all?
That was north side of the street. They relocated their water line from the alley to Mountain View.
We have an alley on north of them. Then, on the-
Yes.
Oh, I didn't, okay.
So the water line was in there, so we eliminated that water main, put a new water main down Mountain View.
I was confused, okay.
And so that's why if you go down Mountain View, there's a nice clean patch
Yeah.
on one side because it was going along water main.
So south,
And
they
then-
looked to the street already,
What's that? Yes.
I mean,
Or they are, I think they're in the alley behind them, off the top of my head. I believe
Yeah,
that's the case.
okay.
Councilmember Sherman.
I don't have any questions.
Councilmember Boyer.
No questions.
All right, is there any additional discussion? All right, I don't see any. Is there a motion?
Move to authorize the public works director to sign the agreement with Central Washington Asphalt to overlay Southeast Sky Avenue for Southeast Scenic View to Southeast 12th Street in an amount not to exceed 40,000.
Second, Councilmember Jessup.
Any additional discussion? All right, seeing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the ayes have it. The motion is passed. Moving on to Majonia Road Reconstruction Engineering, and Mr. McAdams is still going to share with us.
One more. So Majonia Road, I believe you're probably all aware, we are working towards a somewhat significant construction project to reconstruct Majonia Road that would ultimately include roadway widening all the way from College Avenue to city limits, which is that blue view lane. So it would upgrade it to an urban or minor arterial standard with ADA compliant sidewalk, curb and gutter, storm, landscaping strips, street lighting, and then water, sewer, and conduit for future fiber, potential fiber communications. So all of that being said, there's federal funding involved. We were previously awarded FHWA money, federal share of 390,000, a city contribution of 61,840. So because there's federal, there's a lot of hoops you have to jump through. They required all the funds to be authorized by WashDOT. So WashDOT authorized these funds on May 4th. The city put out a request for statements of qualifications for engineering. Received 6 proposals, which was pretty good. All of the firms were very qualified. So we scored those proposals objectively, and PBS Engineering had the highest score. So at that point, we entered into negotiations for scope and fee with them. And they provided a hourly rate contract, the maximum payable amount of $364,924.86. So the plan is to have them complete engineering up to 75% design, which will get us to the point where we should know what right of way will need to be acquired. We will have our option to continue with them or to put out another request for statements of qualifications if we want to pick a different firm, but seems likely as long as everything's going smoothly, we'd stick with the same firm to carry forward with right-of-way acquisition and ultimate construction. So after we put the contract together, I had several discussions with WashDOT, and they provided concurrence on agreeing with the contract and all of the components that go along with that. So what we're asking for today is to be able to execute that contract with PBS. And get going on there today.
All right. Before I go to council members, I just, the air conditioner is making noise right above this side of the room, so please make sure you speak loudly so that they can hear you on this side of the room. All right, Councilmember Jessup, questions or comments?
Not at the moment. Thank you.
Mr. Cleveland,
No questions. I look forward to seeing the design of this done.
Mr. Espinosa,
So it's really exciting to look into the future and take a look at these infrastructure projects. I think it's going to add a lot of value to our city. So thank you for your work. In terms of the quotes that you got, PBS, just a refresh my memory, was that the best quote?
So for engineering projects, we're not allowed to just go out and get quotes. It's proposals. So they submit their qualifications and they speak to their knowledge of the project. They usually provide examples of projects they've done in the past that might be similar, opportunity to call references if there's other cities or counties that they've worked with. So you just gather a whole lot of information on the firms and decide which firm is most qualified engineering on that project. So once we pick the firm that's most qualified, at that point, we enter into negotiations with them where they put together scope and fee, lay out what their plan is, and then we can go back and forth and say, no, don't want you to do this, or kind of tweak it and adjust it to get to the price that we need it to be at. That's how we got to where we're going now.
Okay, so you think this price is competitive with the market?
I do, and the funding that was awarded previously, with a total of $451,840, was based on some engineered estimates of what they thought it should be. So granted, this is only to get to 75% design, so I can't say for sure what the contract will look like to get to 100%, but in theory, that should fill that gap and get it to the rest of the world.
Mr. Peterson,
Okay, along that line, what's your sense, and you may not know, nobody may know, but what's your sense on the upward cost pressure right now? I know we're talking about inflation, things like that, but I think it was a year ago, this police about to bid, it was like, I think it was shortage of workers, it was whatever. What's your feeling now, just kind of today? And then there's no right answer.
I know. It's hard to say because like you touched on, materials are way out there. For the engineering portion of it, I think we should be able to be fairly accurate, although again, there's a shortage of engineers. So if you aren't able to staff their firms, then that it makes things more difficult. So as far as the engineering portion, I feel like it ought to be pretty close to on budget. I mean, this particular contract is for a price not to exceed. So we can't go over that 364,000, 24,000. When it goes to construction, that's where I think all bets are going to
Yeah, right, yeah.
And by the time we get there, I think things will have gone up a little bit more already, and hopefully we'll have a better idea if the market's going to stabilize or if we're going to, yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
No questions.
Boyle,
No questions.
is there any additional discussion? If not, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the execution of the contract with PPS Engineering for the conceptual design to 75% design of Montana Road from College Avenue to Blueview Lane. I'll second.
Any additional discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it, and the motion is passed. Wait a minute, I wasn't ready for.
You got more? from me?
He knows better.
I feel like you and Mike need to just start like taking turns so that neither of you get too
There you
tired.
go. For the rest of between. All right, so now we got a marathon for Mr. Rizzatello. The first one is going to be a resolution to support the Columbia Rural Electric More Powerful Together grant application.
Okay, thank you. Every year, Columbia REA, they do a call for projects for their More Powerful Together grant. We've not received one out of that program. We have received an electric vehicle charger from them in the past, although not in the same program. The premise here is to put in for Lions Park, because tying back to the inflationary pressure, while the engineering is staying with it, for all projects are staying at or below what we've estimated, the construction cost is becoming astronomical. And Lions Park is the ever increasing moving target, where every time I think we have it funded with grants, and then you get an estimate and then it gets depressing. So this is a grant to help close the gap once again, so.
So let's go to council members. Mr. Jessup,
At the moment, thank
Mr. Cleveland, Mr. Espinosa,
Just excited to see things move along with this project, Mike, so it's awesome. Thank you.
Mr. Peterson,
No questions, thank you.
Ms. Sherman,
No questions.
Ms. Boyle.
No questions.
All right. If there's no additional discussion, is there a motion?
A motion to approve resolution 22-056. For the Columbia REA More Powerful Together grant application for College Place Lions Park renovation.
I'll second.
Any additional discussion? All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, the ayes have it and the motion is passed. Next is a resolution to support the National Endowment for the Arts, Our Town grant application.
Same premise, different grant. So again, to close the gap with Lions Park, the concept is to pursue this grant program through National Endowment of the Arts, and it would help pay for the inclusive playground, the path, and so on and so forth. That we think we have decent shot at this. Blue Zones is helping us with this.
All right. Council members, Mr. Jessup, questions or comments?
No, but just want to say again, thanks for all the support that we're partnering with Blue Zones and that partnership there again. So thanks for working hard on this and cooperating with them too.
Mr. Cleveland,
No questions.
Mr. Espinosa,
No questions.
Mr. Peterson,
No questions.
Ms. Sherman,
No questions.
Ms. Boyle.
No questions.
All right, if there's no additional discussion, is there a motion?
I'll move to approve resolution number 22-057 in support of national endowments for the arts, NEA, our town application for College Place Lions Park renovation.
I'll second.
Any additional discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, the ayes have it and the motion is passed. Next item is a resolution to support Transportation Improvement Board Urban Aerial Grant Application for Northeast College Place Connector Project. Mr. Rizzatello.
Okay, thank you. We're now in the season where State Transportation Improvement Board has their grant projects out. They actually have a significant amount of money relative to past years because the state allocation of the American Rescue Plan Act, a lot of that was given to them to dole out for projects. So they've advised folks to submit any that qualify. So in this case, this ties into a project where we actually completed the engineering on a good section of it like 4 years ago. And then nothing happened because we thought at the time that TIB would allow us to spend money on dams. And at the time, it wasn't federally classified. And we thought we could make a couple of arguments and that they funded, they ended up not funding it. So then even we did all the right of way, the engineering, the whole 9 yards, but then we couldn't move forward on the construction of that, but we did C Street because that was federally classified. Since this time, we did get Damson federally classified. It has been accepted into that, so now it's eligible for TIB money. It's 100% engineered. The right of way's been acquired. We have the plans. It just needs to be fixed. So this would go from Cargill over to Rose Street, and then with Rose Street, it is, you may recall, in various iterations of capital facility plan, and this is in some older engineered drawings on the CARS project. Initially, the plan was to continue with the street lighting on the south side of Rose Street, but we didn't have the money to continue up Rose. This would continue that lighting because if you all go out there at nighttime, which I do, that's when I do the bike ride, it is pitch black out there at night. So this would include the lighting on one side of the road along the multi-use path, and then also restriping the section from Lambert to Cary Court. Now this is really important because City of Walla Walla, they have approved redoing Rose Street from Cary Court onward to 9th, which would entail changing it from the 4 lanes to 2 each direction to 1 lane each way with a center turn lane and bike lanes. So if we don't restripe our portion, you're going to have a 2-block portion that's like 4 lanes each way. It's going to be really awkward. So we need to make sure it dovetails together. So this grant application would cover those respective elements.
All right, let's go to council members. Mr. Jessup, questions or comments?
At the moment, thank you.
Mr. Cleveland?
All the sons, I'm glad Dan's son is being brought back into the fold after having been wayward for so long. So thank you for all your hard work on making this happen.
Mr. Espinosa, please.
I think it's great, Mike. You know, that plot of land that's vacant, I think an improvement like that would make it more attractive for developers to look at it and put in a bid and develop that and build homes, which, you know, our community needs. So those improvements are only good for a community. So good job.
Mr. Peterson?
No question.
Ms. Sherman?
No questions.
Ms. Boyle?
No questions.
All right. If there's no additional discussion, is there a motion?
I'll motion to adopt resolution number 22-056, which supports the city's Northeast College Place Connector project, TIB Herbal Arterial Grant.
Is there a second?
Do we need to correct that to be 5-8? Is it 5-8 on?
Did I misspeak?
22.
22-058.
Yeah, I'll second.
Any additional discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it and the motion is passed. The next item is a resolution to support the Transportation Improvement Board's Arterial Preservation Program grant application for Southeast Scenic View Drive from Large to Falbo.
Okay. Thank you. So Transportation Improvement Board, they have 3 programs: Urban Arterial, which we just discussed, the active transportation one, and then this arterial preservation. And with arterial preservation, it's for any federally classified road providing an overlay. So not reconstructing the whole thing, just doing an overlay. Scenic View, as you all may recall, that was just federally classified. So that was in the same batch of roadways we turned in with Hampson. So the concept would be, if awarded these funds to do an overlay on that segment of Scenic View, since now it's federally classified and eligible.
Okay. Mr. Jessup, questions or comments?
At the moment, thank you.
Mr. Friedman,
No question.
Mr. Espinosa,
Would that include any improvements, Mike, to that portion?
It would just provide an overlay and then ADA ramps for the sidewalks at the intersections, but that's all.
Mr. Peterson,
No questions. Thank you.
Ms. Sherman,
No questions.
Ms. Boyle.
No questions.
Okay, any additional discussion? Seeing none, is there a motion?
To adopt resolution number 22-059, which supports the city's Southeast Scenic View Drive large default overlay project into the TAB active arterial preservation grant program.
Second.
Thank you. Any additional discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. The ayes have it, the motion is passed. The next item is the hotel market feasibility study with core distinction group. Mr. Vitello.
Okay, thank you. As you all know, for years, we've been trying to get a lodging facility here into the community of College Place. We had several leads prior to COVID, then COVID occurred and all the real estate contacts were fired at the respective hotel companies, and we had to start from scratch. In talking with everyone with the hotels, what has occurred since the COVID is the community's interested in getting a hotel. You need to have a market assessment that essentially says that you meet the respective criteria, and then they essentially get the investors and then make a hotel happen. Talked with just about every lodging company because I was trying to get someone else to pay for this, and they have all moved to this structure. So it becomes a point where either you do it and get a hotel or you don't and you won't. The company that was all recommended by all these folks was this core group. And how it works is it's 15,000 total, but you pay 7,500 initially. They crunch the numbers, and if it meets where you can attract the hotels, then they tell you, and then they contact the hotels, get the investor groups together, and then get someone in here. If it doesn't, then they'll tell you and not charge the other 7,500. Through all my outreach efforts, this appears post-COVID to be the only linear pathway forward. Should we want one of the name brand hotels here? Because when I was at ICSC, the shopping center convention over in Las Vegas, this was the key information asked by all of them. The port was with those meetings as well. For full disclosure, the port was willing to pay for it if it was for the whole valley, but that doesn't help us get one of these facilities in College Place, which we so sorely need, and get a lot of complaints from folks visiting here that they want one nearby. So therefore, that's why the recommendation is that we go with this ourselves, because we need to solve that issue.
All right. Mr. Jessup, questions or comments?
Hey, Mike, how does this just future reference in meeting with Walla Walla City Council and such, and the potential conversations about commercial drives, you know, like the shared corridors and stuff like that? Does this kind of information kind of play into that? Like once they get their study done, like the location and that kind of stuff?
I mean, if one of the sites they identify would be one of the best Myra Road sites, it'd play into it a little bit, but really it's gonna help from College Place specifically. And City of Walla Walla, they already have their own study done like this just for City of Walla Walla, which is why they've received a lot of the lodging facilities as of late. So to a minor degree, it would play into the fact. I know from crunching initial data, I mean, likely where they're gonna say a hotel's gonna go is in the upcoming College Avenue, Meadowbrook area corridor, in which the impact on them is very negligible because they already have a lot of the hotels going the other way into the downtown.
Right. Yeah. So this is a major step for us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks.
Mr. Cleveland?
No questions, but
Mr. Espinosa?
Just curious, Mike, do you know if this study applies to other retailers? So say a store or, you know, a different type of retailer that could make use of this study if it doesn't work out for these purposes.
Well, I mean, it would have some customer data for the retailers, but honestly, we get a lot of that already through Esri Business Analyst, which is a software program. We subscribe to pull the data. I mean, I would argue if the hoteliers didn't have such stringent requirements, you could do a similar study with Esri Business Analyst, but all of them are insistent on the fact that in order to get the investors and the money they need, they want the specific study and namely the specific organization to do it. So we're pretty much boxed into a corner.
And what's the likelihood that we're gonna get a hotel if it works out?
I think significant because if COVID wouldn't have timed the way it timed, there were two hotels looking at going in adjacent to Hop Thief. And frankly, right as they were closing, COVID hit and then everyone got fired, the financing fell through, and then we were back to square one. So, and the two hotel chains that were getting ready to go, I talked with them at the shopping center convention and they liked our area, but they said they would not be moving forward with it unless we got one of these studies done. And given the fact they were here before, it was just the timing really messed with us. One would think that the same conclusion would be met.
Well, we were this close.
Yeah.
Mr. Peterson? Ms. Sherman?
No questions.
Ms. Boyle?
No questions.
Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution number 22-060, which permits city administrator to contract with Core Distinction Group for hotel market feasibility study services.
For a second?
I'll second.
Any additional discussion? All right, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the ayes have it and the motion is passed. The next item is the National Purchasing Cooperative Interlocal Participation Agreement. Doing business as by board.
Thank you. As you're aware, throughout the years, we've joined purchasing co-ops because what they do is they'll do various bid processes for various products, and then essentially municipal agencies can piggyback on those bids and it facilitates quick turnaround on some common procurements. Found out about this new purchasing co-op at the last Association of Washington Cities meeting, and that they can operate here in the state of Washington. So frankly, this is getting passed by a lot of cities in the state now that they're operating here. There is no fiduciary requirement upon the city. It just will allow us to essentially piggyback should the pricing warrant such.
All right, thank you, Mike. Mr. Jessup, any questions or comments?
No, thank you.
Mr. Cleveland?
No questions. Thank you.
Mr. Espinosa?
Is there a membership fee? I don't see one in the contract.
No, it's free of charge.
All right.
Mr. Peterson?
No question.
Right, Ms. Sherman,
No questions.
Ms. Boyle,
No questions.
Mike, what kind of items are we looking at?
It can run the gamut from essentially asphalt to cleaning supplies to architectural services. It goes all over the place.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Any additional discussion? We have a motion.
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution number 22-061, which permits city administrator to sign national purchasing cooperative interlocal participation agreement.
Great. We have a second. Any additional discussion? All right. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? All right. The ayes have it and the motion is passed. All right, moving right along with in administrative reports. We have several though tonight, so, but we're doing good times. So first is the addition of the mental health co-responder to the salary ordinance, and Ms. Dory will present on that.
Right, thank you. In June, council approved the resolution to allow us to move forward to sign an agreement with Greater Columbia Behavioral Health to accept the federal mental health professional grant. So I have done some salary research that combined with the amount of money that we are getting for the grant and came up with the salary range for the salary ordinance. So that is on there. Is there any questions? Basically, it goes from the step one, because it's based upon the amount with benefits that we can afford to spend, you know, with the $100,000. So if somebody applies for the position who has a full family, then the benefits will be more. So we needed to stay within that $100,000. So we had to make that work. So I think the step one and the step five are fairly close to, I looked up comprehensive health, some of their different positions and the pay associated with that.
Okay.
And then also included is a copy of the job description that we put together.
Thank you. Thank you for all this work. You have to do a lot of research to get those numbers.
So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right. Mr. Jessup, any questions for Ms. Dory?
No, I'm with Mayor. Thank you for all the hard work and doing all the comps.
Mr. Cleveland?
No questions, but thank you for investing in mental health.
Mr. Espinosa?
No questions.
Mr. Peterson?
No questions.
Ms. Sherman?
No questions.
And Ms. Boyle?
No questions.
All right. And let's move on. The accident prevention program, and Ms. Dory's also going to be presenting on that.
So we just wanted to put this in front of you. It will be on the consent agenda at the next meeting. The last time that the accident prevention program was updated was in 2008. So we took a template that was provided to us from the Association of Washington Cities retro program. They help us with our safety and our L&I claims, and then went through the whole thing just to make sure that, I mean, it's a huge document. It has a lot of requirements to make sure that it was something that we could follow and to adjust it to our city, to take out parts that didn't apply to us. I sent the different sections to different department heads or their delegate to review it. The safety committee reviewed it. So we've been working on it for a long time. I don't want to say how long.
I was going to say 56 pages long.
Anyway, yeah, not quite but close. Anyway, so we want to go ahead and have council adopt it so we can put it out there and start using it.
All right. Let's go for any questions on this. Mr. Jessup?
No, thank you.
Mr. Cleveland?
No questions.
Mr. Espinosa?
No questions.
Mr. Peterson?
Yeah, real quick one. Time flies. We moved to a new, what would it be? Property liability insurance few years ago.
I knew, right, insurance company.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah.
They were gonna be engaged also in some of this activity. How's that going? Or is, I know there was some discussions of, staff education and whatnot, cyber phishing, that. What are your guys' thoughts on that? Have they been engaged, or?
Very. We get a ton of training from them, especially.
Too much maybe?
Well, it depends on who you ask,
Yeah.
but especially now since COVID hit, a ton of their training is online, live online. And a majority of it is free, or they will reimburse if it's something outside of what they provide.
Yeah.
We get a certain amount of reimbursement. Mike, you might speak to this, but I don't know that it's necessarily, maybe it's all related, but not necessarily safety type trainings.
Right.
A little bit, some, like they'll do our flagging classes or not do them, but reimburse us more along the lines of like professional development, labor law type stuff.
One for all departments too. I mean, the previous risk management carrier did things more so from a macro level, but from the very like 900,000 feet. And this is more, I would say 20,000 feet, where it's also departmental or functional specific, which is of great help.
I've been really impressed with the trainings that they offer.
That's good to hear. We haven't talked about it much. I'm just curious.
Yeah.
So, yeah, okay.
And they're, I mean, not necessarily as far as the training is concerned, but as far as their customer service is concerned, they're awesome.
So as advertised, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Great.
Exactly, which is kind of nice because it's not always like that.
Thank you.
They're amazing.
I work at it.
Yeah. Oh, remember.
Anyway.
Ms. Sherman,
No questions.
Ms. Boyle,
No questions.
all right. Good to go for the next meeting.
Thank you.
The next is a resolution to adopt the ADA transition plan.
Okay, thank you. And this is just an introduction for this one. Please take a look at it. And if you have any concerns or edits, let us know. So our engineering intern, Aquia, and Walla Walla Valley Blue Zones, they've been instrumental in the public process of having a steering committee, having a survey, prioritizing stuff. This is very important because the city is of the population where we would have been required to do one of these next year. The city actually doesn't have an ADA transition plan and never did. So we would have been required to do this, and to put it in perspective, the city of Walla Walla's plan ran over $140,000. So, and this one, it was the intern labor and then partnering with Blue Zone. So we'll have it posted on our website for additional public comment. This will go for action at the last meeting in August. Just want to make sure we introduce this now. Just given the fact next meeting I won't be here, so.
Right. But the council members, Mr. Jessup, questions or comments?
No comments. Thank you.
Mr. Cleveland?
No questions, but this looks great. I'm glad that we got it created pretty economically.
Mr. Espinosa?
No questions.
Mr. Peterson?
No questions.
Ms. Sherman?
No questions.
Ms. Boyle?
No questions. Thank you.
All right. Next is a resolution to contract with. Because I can- Is it letters? Is it acronym or, okay, with Pisces?
Yeah, so this is free, and what this is it's cyber security through like University of Washington, where essentially they aid your IT staff in just identifying hacking threats and so forth. And essentially they do the education that way. I found out about this because a lot of our camp cities and their IT departments have been working with them to head off cybersecurity threats, and it's actually turning into a bigger thing now with the amount of cities that are opting into this. City of Othello recently opted into this, as has Airway Heights. So given the fact that they've identified a couple of pretty significant cybersecurity issues that could have brought down those other cities that their IT departments were following but weren't on the cusp of, and given the fact that this is free, seems like a slam dunk type situation on this. Thus, why it's in front of you, but it's for introduction purposes. So take a look at it. If you have any questions, let me know, and then we'll go for action in a future meeting.
Mr. Jessup,
The comments, or questions, thank you.
Mr. Cleveland, Mr. Espinosa.
The news is great because it's going to benefit the city, with cybersecurity, and also benefit oncoming students. So whenever we get a chance to, through apprenticeship, to mentor and coach and teach others trades and skills, I think it's wonderful. So great job, Mike, and I think it's something very positive for the community.
Mr. Peterson,
No questions, thank you.
Ms. Sherman,
Questions?
Ms. Boyle.
No questions.
All right. Nah, so moving on, that's done with the administrative reports, we have the informational reports. So there's several informational reports in your packet. If you have not had a chance to review them, please do so. Let's see. That's it. We're on closing items. So is there anything for good of the order?
Just a quick comment. What a lovely community we have. I've spoken recently with a couple of families that just moved in to college place from out of town, and they talk about how quiet it is. They talk about the farmers market. Got a library card while they were there with the mobile. The blazing internet speed connections, some of the things we've done. And it's just nothing but positive as far as our community for people that are seeing it really for the first time and enjoying what we enjoy every day. So it's just always makes you all the hard work that Mike, your staff, and everyone who does it. It really makes an impact, and just want to say thank you.
Well, thank you, and thanks to all of our staff for helping contribute to these projects.
Don't minimize the support they've gotten from council.
Yeah.
I think past staff would have
Yeah.
loved to have support
Yeah.
from council the way, so.
We're glad our couple hours a month help.
If I can echo that from a different perspective, I was at Burwood a while ago and sat at a table with a real estate agent, and we started talking about the county and the cities, and she said College Place they know what they're doing, they're getting it done. Everyone needs to do what College Place is doing, so that was good
That's
too.
nice to hear.
Yes.
Very good. Anything else? If not, do we have a motion to conclude?
Moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, you sure? All right, so there's no objection. The meeting is concluded at 8:03 p.m. Good job, everyone.
Yeah.